Hey guys, welcome to another vlog. Today I am going to be doing some scouting on some public land in Wisconsin that I may be coming up and hunting in the next couple years. I don't get to come up here a whole lot, but I actually had a work trip coming up this week, so I came up a little early to just do a quick scouting trip that was on my way up to where I'm going for work. So worked out good for me. I just got off the phone with a biologist for this area that I'm going to be hunting in. Gave me all kinds of good information about pressure and kind of the deer numbers in that general area, tag information, how much that kind of stuff cost. That's something, if you guys are planning on going on an out-of-state hunt or even a new area inside your state, it's like priceless to go ahead and give the local biologist a call. I've never really talked to any of them that were unfriendly or would withhold any type of information from you. So call those people. They're the ones that are working in this area, is constantly dealing with you know, deer numbers, dealing with habitat. They have a very good understanding of the general expectations in that area, or they can give you a general understanding of what the expectations are in that area. So it's going to be awesome. Can't wait to get out there and scout a new area in a new state that I'm hoping to hunt. Maybe even this year I'll get up here. Who knows? You don't see too many wildlife management areas with a paved path going back. There's some young milkweed that may help someone in its mature life kill a big monster buck. There's a lot of good spots up here close to the road. Looks like it could be a spot where a big buck could end up hiding out at, but my strategy right now is I'm just kind of going to go in the very middle of this stuff where I have some areas marked and scout my way back to the truck, more or less. So what it looks like to me is this is a lot of this big kind of open field, like switchgrass stuff. That's just hundreds and hundreds of acres that are you can see it's like head high in here. So what I'm going to focus on, I think, is these little pockets of trees and seeing if there's any bedding and how close I can get to these deer that are probably going to be bedded out here in this switchgrass somewhere. So what I'm in here is like little pockets of trees that are out in these switchgrass fields, and you can see here this is a pretty big bed here. I don't see much hair in it, but it's like a perfect spot for a deer to lay, because this ground, you see how black it is, it's just real soft, and I'll have a little moisture in it to cool them down. I don't see any rubs or anything around here, but I'm going to keep looking. Actually, I think I see quite a few beds in this little area. I think there's one there, there's one there, so more than likely probably an area doe staying. Here's another stretch through these little wood patches that are in the middle of this switchgrass stuff that you can clearly see the deer are using this area probably to come in here and bed down. So there's a single nice tree out in the middle of this, just wide open. Not out in the middle, but it's like, I don't know, probably 100 yards out to this grass field, and there's definitely a good sized bed here underneath the tree. And you can just like visibly feel how much cooler it is underneath these little trees whenever you come and walk by them. So that's why I think the deer like, especially this time of year, if they're living out here, they like bedding underneath these trees. My only concern is I'm not finding a lot of like rubs or scrapes, so I don't think I've
or not scrapes, but no rubs on trees. I don't think I'm in the right area for where the big bucks are living, so I'm gonna keep going. Something else I've noticed when scouting is deer like to use these like random trees out here in the middle of this field. It's kind of like a place to walk by, or like I don't know if they use it as like some type of a marker. But every time you see like a line of trees or some random trees, typically those deer are gonna like to like almost walk by those trees on their way to wherever they may be going. Why do they do that? It's probably more of a comfort thing. It's probably like, man, if I can get to that tree right there, I'll be safe. Same as like when we're stalking through the woods, trying not to let deer see us, we think, let's get to that next point and stop and kind of reevaluate. I think they're probably thinking the same thing, at least pretty similar. So anytime you're out here in these big open fields and you see kind of a line of trees there, a lot of times those deer are going to follow that kind of line to get through these thick areas. You talk about a mosquito infestation. Thermocell is a must-have on a hunt back here in this swamp, at least during the early September season. Holy moly. I got my 100% DEET in my pocket, and I reapplied 4 times in the last 30 minutes out here. So, woo. So like when you're struggling trying to find good buck areas, it's kind of one of those things where you may have to just throw a set at this place. And like a place kind of on top of this hill here, like if you get up in that tree right there, or even one of these back in here, and you can see a lot of country out in here, and you know, your first evening set, it may be worth setting here and watching out here, seeing what's out here, and try to get the place figured out a little better. So underneath that tree right there is a good bed, and I'm kind of looking on this tree line now for a good spot to set up in the bed. And really, this tree's leaning quite a bit, but if I get on the back side of it, would be probably a pretty good spot. And this one's straight up and down, so on the back side of that wouldn't be bad, but I'd have a lot of brush to shoot through. So I think this one, setting on the back side of it, would be my best bet. And then from there, I should be able to see quite a bit out in here too. So a good option. I'm going to mark it on onX. So you can see this is a really good bed. And that tree I was looking at is right there. So I got a good bed here. And then I got a good bed for that tree, and that tree over there underneath that tree. So this is probably the most promising area that I found, although that looks like a buck bed, but I'm not seeing any major rubs anywhere. So I think I would come in from the back side of this and get into that tree over there to hunt this area. Cool. Well, I made it back to the path. There's a truck driving out in the middle of the field. I assume it was the DNR or whatever doing some work. But overall, an okay scouting day. I found some good beds. Nothing that I would consider big bucks, I don't think. But I checked some ground off my list up here, and something that I would like to come and spend more time, because there has to be big deer in here, just too big of an area and too much cover for there not to be a big deer. So
push that envelope, get on top of them to where they do move in daylight, and that's all I'm killing.
So I think.
All right, area number 2 in Wisconsin here. I'm scouting. I wasn't like really excited about the first place, so found a new spot on the map to come and look at this evening. So I'm gonna spend some time, kind of a marshy area from what it looks like on the map. So let's go see if we can find some big bucks. Okay, I'm on a boarding mission because the mosquitoes are about to carry me away. I gotta go get some DEET bug spray real quick and I'll be back. Pretty good track coming out of this point here. I'm gonna keep following this back to see if I can find bedding. As I get farther out in this point, I'm seeing a little more buck sign. You can see that that rub there, and that's about thigh high. See that? It's about thigh high. So it's getting to be a little better spot. I knew this would be a place where a big buck could be living, but man, you have to have some DEET and some Thermacell out here for sure. Mosquitoes will take you away. When you're walking through this wet, nasty stuff, you can get sinkholes. So what you want to do is I kind of flip the grass over like this and step on top of it. That way you're not going to sink down to your elbows or anything. In these marshes and swamps, if you don't get your boots completely full of water, I don't think you're doing it right. And I'm officially doing it right because my boots are full. Must have been a decent spot at one point in time. So you can see coming out of this finger goes out to here, comes around, and then goes to another finger out here. And this little transition, there's a whole bunch of tracks next to this little water hole, and some pretty decent buck tracks in there too. So probably a pretty good area. That finger we were just on right here, and there's this little bitty CRP field kind of looking area just outside of this finger, and I'm gonna spot check, but at every little tree out here you can see there's one there and there and there and there, but almost every single one of them has a bed in it of some sort. So I'm gonna spot check these to see if I think one is better than the other. I have a good feeling there's gonna be some good deer bedding along this edge right here. So I'm gonna spin up there real quick and take a look. Another bed underneath a tree. What I think I would do in this spot is probably set up in one of these trees here so I could see, at least for a first set, I could see on that side of that tree line and then on this side. And then there's definitely deer trails that run through there. So it kind of gives yourself, you know, maybe a snowball's chance in hell, but it gives yourself at least a chance at a poke at a big buck walking down that tree line. And then you also have some observations, an observation set to put underneath your belt. So whenever I'm on these out-of-state trips, you kind of want to put yourself, you know, in the ball game. At least every time you set in a spot, in my opinion, you may be sacrificing a little bit by setting there, not a little closer to the beds. But if there's a big buck bedded in one of those beds I just found, you're as close as you're going to get to him. Okay, I made it to the very end of this point. It pretty much starts way back at the end of that woods, probably a half a mile. Comes all the way around through here. And if you look, this is a little island of trees because that point stops right there. And then probably another 100 yards and there's this island. This is the very farthest away you can get into this marshy area. Great big huge bed right here. Don't see any rubs around it, but I'm quite certain this is a buck bed just by the way it is. So I think I found where I want to set up at. I'd probably get as close to this point out here as I could without them seeing me, which I can get pretty close, it looks like. So this is a good sign. Well, that brings me to the end of my Wisconsin scouting trip. It was a quick trip, but I learned a lot. Learned that the bugs are bad in Wisconsin, as you can probably see them all flying around me right now. I didn't see the monster buck sign that I was hoping for down in here, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's not a big one living in here. Sometimes because there's no sign, that means there is a big one living in the area. A lot of times if the big one doesn't have any competition really to speak of, there's no reason for him to lay down sign. So maybe where that, gosh darn, maybe where that deer was, that big buck bed, I think was a big buck bed, is a sign of a big buck, because there was no rubs or anything like that around that area. So I don't know, we'll come back here in September hopefully and see if we can gosh darn, see if we can kill a nice buck in here. See you guys later.